So, confidentiality, is that clear? Do you have any questions around that, guys?
No, sound pretty straightforward.
Yep. Okay. All right. So let me just explain a bit about my role. So I'm a social worker here at Community Health. My job is to have a chat to people and see whether we can be of assistance, any services here or any referrals that we can provide. So can you tell me, guys, why you came in today? What brought you in?
Oh, look, I'm pretty much in because my wife wanted me to come in. She's been asking me for the last few weeks to come in and just have a chat together. I think there's a bit of concern that I might be drinking too much. I don't know, we haven't spoken about it, and I don't really want to be here, but I thought I'd just hit the nail on the head and get this over with.
Okay. Well, thank you for making the effort to come in. It's not always pleasant to be dragged somewhere against your will, but
Yeah.
I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
So does that sound accurate?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
He's drinking a fair bit at home, and I'm a little concerned about his health. Well, actually, no, I'm a lot concerned about his health in connection to, I think, the alcohol, yes, he's drinking a lot, but, I think there's a lot of, he's just not engaging with the family, and he's just, not himself.
Okay, so there's a few different things I heard there. Concerns about Tony's health and being a little bit disengaged from the family. So hearing your wife say that, would you agree?
Look, I mean, I was at the doctor's probably about 2 weeks ago, had a few issues with the heart, probably a couple months back.
That sounds serious. Is it serious?
Oh, look, it's not good. I don't think it's going to be the end of the world, but the doctor did want me to make a few lifestyle choices to help with that, and drinking was one of those. I also think stress was probably a big part of that too. So yeah, I think the health is probably a bit of an issue with the heart and everything. And I have been drinking more than I used to. But it's just stressful at home, and I like to be able to knock back and relax after a long week at work.
Okay, so what is it that's stressful at home?
Look, we've got 2 kids. Henry is just on 21, 22. And then our daughter Eve, who's been over at university, but she moved back home probably about 6 months ago, and that's been really difficult. She's been a bit down. But I think the main issue for me is my son, or our son Henry, who's got schizophrenia. That was diagnosed probably about 3 years ago. And yeah, I don't know, he has his moments in and out of hospital, and I don't know how to deal with it, to be honest. So I'm usually at work all day, come home, the last thing I want to do is come home and deal with my son when he's gone bonkers, and I just don't know how to deal with it. I really don't. So come down to the weekends, I just like to have a few beers and not worry about it, wash away the week, so to say.
Okay. And how about you? How are you finding managing Henry and his condition?
Oh, very difficult, because obviously, as you can hear, he's not helpful. Tony just doesn't care. He's just sort of left me to basically pick up all the pieces. So I'm left running around. I'm usually the one that's taking him into the mental health ward if he needs to be in there, because he's got an issue with being and staying on medication. And so he ends up in the mental health ward off and on. And so he sort of takes a lot of my time, which then offshoots on Eve, and obviously she's struggling with her own issues, and I don't have a lot of time to spend sort of checking in with her, because I'm over here trying to deal with things that are in your face and you can't avoid. So it's extremely exhausting and tiring and frustrating, and it just causes contention between Tony and I. We just argue a lot because he's just not switched into anything that's going on.
Okay. And you'd agree?
Look, I care. I mean, I do care about my kids. I just don't know what to do with them. Especially with Henry, I really, really don't know how to deal with them.
Okay.
We always had a close relationship growing up, but since this diagnosis and going in and out of hospitals, I don't know anything about schizophrenia. I don't know how to be around him when he's having an episode. I don't know how to who to talk to in terms of doctors and stuff. They haven't given me any information. It's kind of like he goes to hospital, he comes out, and everything's supposed to be all good, but it's not.
Okay.
So I definitely care. I just don't know how I can help better at home, to be honest.
Okay, that's
You know,
something.
and
Yeah, we can look at that.
it is tiring. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's I think it's
exactly.
taken out on both of us. I think we're just,
Yeah.
on empty.
Okay. All right. All right. So I'm hearing that Henry is a lot of stress and work for you, Sonia. So I heard you say a little bit about your daughter Eve struggling. Tell me a bit more about what's happening with her.
Oh, to be truthful, I really don't know everything that's going on for her because I haven't had that time to be able to sit and plug in with her, and she doesn't really engage in talking with me, and she's just wants to shut away in her room a lot. So she's sort of not going to uni at all, and she's totally also just gone by the wayside, and I don't quite know what to do with her. So I am very concerned. She's putting weight on. She's looking really sad, and I don't know. I don't know what to do with her. And Tony doesn't really want to know. So he just seems to think she's just being a normal uni student.
So you're not as concerned about Eve?
Not about Eve, no. I do just think she's just kind of going through a phase in her life at the moment. You're 18, 19, first year at uni, it's going to be stressful. Things are going to be different. And I think she's just dealing with that in her own way.
Okay.
She knows how.
All right, so what I'm hearing is that Henry's probably a little bit more of a concern than Eve at this point. Is that fair to say?
I think we always think that because obviously his needs are so dramatic. And, running around naked in the front yard, down the street, you sort of have to immediately act on that. But this is, I suppose, is what our whole life has been, and it's Henry, and I do get concerned that Eve is where she's at because we haven't engaged fully in where she's at or seen that she's struggling and then helped her with that. But I don't know how to juggle the both. I can't do it on my own. I can't juggle both of them. They're too much.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like there's possibly a need for Eve to have some counselling. If she's not talking to you, then it might be helpful for her to talk to someone else. And while we're talking about counselling, I feel like perhaps some support in relation to knowing how to deal with Henry, how to converse with him, how to engage him. If he's not taking his medication and that's something you don't really know how to talk to him about, it feels like you guys might benefit from a bit more learning and information and support about supporting him. Is that something that sounds helpful?
Yeah, I would love to. I would really like to get a bit more information on and maybe talk to someone that knows a bit more about this and how to. I don't know if there's other groups out there with parents that are going through that, but talking to someone that maybe has done this before
Understands.
I'd find that really helpful. Yeah.
Okay. And I've heard a lot of talk about the children and that's a very stressful and it takes up a lot of your time, etc. Can you talk to me a bit about the impact that's had on the relationship between the both of you?
Don't have a relationship much. Okay. We don't get time to talk. We don't talk. We don't. And because he does work really long hours, and I appreciate his work that he does, but I suppose we both see the weekend as completely different things, as in that he sees the weekend as a de-stress, just wants to sit, doesn't want anyone to bother him. Whereas I see it as, now he's home, he can be, doing things with me or with the kids or be active in doing things that he normally can't do during the week. So I think we both may see, do you think? We both
I do like, as Sonia said, I like being able to just come home and kick up on the weekend. I work really hard throughout the week. long hours driving. When I get to the weekend, I like to see that as my time, just to be able to relax, have a few beers, de-stress, kind of forget about the whole week and everything that's going on. But I feel that Sonia expects me to come home and it's almost like adding on another 2 work days, really,
Yeah.
and I just, yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
having that time to relax and de-stress, that's involving having beers. You said a few beers, and is that sort of both days and into the night?
It's,
Honestly.
honestly, yeah, it'll be both days and then tonight, usually at home. Sometimes I'll be out at the pub with mates, but usually I'm just, yeah, at home just having a few beers.
So
Okay.
basically, he's not at home really. He's home, but he's not at home.
Well,
Yeah, okay.
Not accessible.
All right, so it sounds to me like you would like to spend more time with him when he's not drinking so much, that you might get
Yeah.
better conversation and feel more supported. But yet, I hear you saying that it's your way of relaxing and de-stressing. So it sort of seems to me like there's maybe a little bit of room for compromise here. Um, how would you feel about what would you need in order to spend some quality time with him? What would quality time with him look like?
Well, I mean, I don't mind him having a few beers. It's not about the few beers, it's about the few beers that leave him incapacitated. So he's just not, you can't talk, you can't, it's not quality time. So it really is about, I think, we don't get time to talk about, the goals, and we don't even talk about going on a holiday. We don't talk about things we can do together. We don't talk about what to do with the kids, because obviously the decisions we have to make sometimes with regards to Henry and even Eve, and I'm making them all on my own. And I'd like to be able to talk to Tony about them, but unfortunately I feel like if I start talking about the kids and what's happening, you sort of
It's too much. Okay. Okay. How do you feel hearing her say that?
pretty much spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree after hearing it. I think a bit more support probably wouldn't go astray. The weird thing is, it never used to be like this. We used to be really, really good. The drinking was never a problem. We had a really good relationship. The family was good. It was, like I said, probably about 3, 4, 5 years ago when we started noticing the changes in Henry. Then he was diagnosed, and that's when I think it all just kind of got a bit pear-shaped, and I think that's when I started drinking a bit more and more to deal with that and deal with that stress.
Right. So what I'm hearing is, as around the time Henry was diagnosed, your drinking started increasing due to the stress in the home, and that your relationship kind of suffered as a result. That's true? Although you're still close, you sort of probably spent less quality time together.
Yeah.
Okay, what could we do to get that back, to spend a bit more quality time together? What would you see, Tony, as being quality time with your wife?
Look, I'd like to just have some time without the kids. I'm happy to discuss the kids,
Okay.
but let's do it without them, maybe outside from the house or something. That's fine. If you want to have some time, which I'd love to have with you, but maybe we could do it outside of the house then, so that
I'm
way
happy
I'm
for
not
you
in
to
that
take me to dinner
stressful
anytime.
situation.
Oh, we're good with that. Sign me up.
Okay, that's wonderful. Okay, that sounds like a great idea. So, would you require them some supports for Henry? Are you able to leave him by himself?
He's having a good day. I think he'd be
Oh,
fine. I do think he'd be, yeah.
He's got his own unit. He doesn't stay there very much, but when he's on his medication and everything's fine, it's not an issue at all. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds great. So, moving forward, I think what I might do is have a look at a referral for an information support group on carers of people who've been diagnosed with schizophrenia, so that you're going to gather some great information about how best to manage him and help him, of course, and support him. So I'll organise a referral for that. And then if you guys could commit to date night, like you said, get out of the house, get away from it all, perhaps you don't have drinks before dinner that night?
Yeah.
I mean, is that something?
No, we can have a wine at dinner. I mean, I
don't mind. I think
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
out, I'd like to try it and just if we can commit to that time, once a week or even once a fortnight, and that way we can just have a bit more of a conversation like we used to, and then maybe every other weekend I could kind of do a bit more at home. So you give me a night, I give you a day.
Yep,
and,
that sounds like a plan.
I'd be willing to try that. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds wonderful. So if we were to look at booking a session same time next week, could you guys squish in a date night between now and then?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, well, yeah, why not? Yep.
Okay, that's great.
Give it a crack.
It's a Friday night, I'm all good with that. Saturday night, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Find
that
somewhere
sounds
nice
great.
to go.
Okay, that's a nice place to start. And in the meantime, I too will, have a look at support groups around Henry. So, would you say that these are really helpful? Like, have we arrived at a good point where Henry sort of, I heard you speaking of him a lot as the major sort of concern and stressor that was sort of leading to you drinking more. And if you had knowledge around better ways to deal with Henry, I just want to make sure that we're on the right track, that's something that's a big concern and a big stressor in your life. Is there anything else that's that you would consider a major concern?
Not for me. I mean, I feel Henry's getting enough of the support from Henry's end. I just feel like as parents, we've been a bit, on how to deal with it as parents, have been a bit left out of it. And I feel if you can look into some of those, I had no idea something like that existed. So, if there's something out there that you can put us into, that would be really good. And hopefully over the weeks with that.
Yeah. I reckon it'd be nice to, I remember you mentioning a bit earlier about maybe Eve coming in and seeing somebody. And I think, I don't know whether she'd want to, getting her here might be twice as hard as getting him here.
Will you achieve that?
Yes, finally. So I think that might be something where we can explore what's going on for her, because I don't want her being lost in everything else that's happening. And us getting better at home, but just putting her in the corner and expecting her to fix herself. So
Wonderful.
I think that might be good.
Okay, so I'll look into a referral for her also for counselling, and so would that be around her university, or it's more individual counselling?
I think individual counselling, don't you? I think she needs to fit. I know you don't see it as an issue, and I get it because you're not sort of there much. Yeah. But I mean, something's obviously happened that's made her go from a happy girl that was at uni doing well to a girl who's locked herself away in her bedroom, doesn't go to uni, and just eats all day. So
I'm wondering if there's even a counselling service at the university that you might be able to find out for us and then refer to that. I don't know. Maybe talking to someone at university her age or something, or
maybe
I don't know.
It might be a combination of that individual counselling to see what's going on with her, and then perhaps she does want to talk to someone at uni if she's keen to get back in and doesn't sort of see a way for herself.
Okay.
So a little bit of both, gentle nudging from both sides.
Yeah, because we want her back at uni, don't we? I mean, we know in the long run that's what she wants. It's just I don't know how motivated she is right now.
We had 2 kids out of home. We got 2 back at home.
Isn't it always the way? They bounce back like boomerangs, don't they? Okay. All right. Well, that sounds like a great plan. So I'll look at referrals for counselling for Eve, a support group around Henry, and then you guys are going to have a date night, and we're going to talk about that next week and see if that was valuable and fun.
Looking forward to it.
Okay. All right. So thank you, and I will see you next week.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.